And welcome to the Mortgage Coach Friday Mastermind call. This is always one of my favorite things. We have the whole crew here today. We've got Michelle Town. What's up, Michelle?
Good morning, everybody, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you. We got Jen Duplessis. Jen, good morning.
Hi. Well, good afternoon here. I'm so delighted to be with everybody. It always is a good thing every week. Love it.
East Coast. We got Jen on the East Coast. And then my co-host, Todd Bookscan. What's up, Todd?
Oh, not a whole lot. It's a busy Friday and super excited to be here, as always.
Right on. So folks, we know one topic we want to have for sure is we want to have a topic around rate shopping. Now, the way I positioned it online, hey, see the photo bomb. It's all good, Jen. You're funny. It's good.
I'm over here. Go away. Go away.
By the way, that's Jen's husband, and they are like the coolest couple ever. I still remember the first time I met you guys, and I'm just like, what amazing people. So, anyways, tell them I said hi.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, we're going to talk about that now. When I positioned it online, I talked about conversion and then how to have effective conversations about rates and fees, because I think it's dated. Like, how do I win the rate shopping game? I almost think that's a dated concept because so many people are double checking interest rates. Talking about fees is just going to become more and more and more. It's going to trend. So I just think we need to talk about how do we rapidly build trust and relationships. Boom. And then when we do have to talk about rates and fees, how do we do that in the most effective manner possible? What do y'all think?
Well, I totally agree, Dave. I think it's such a pertinent conversation, and I can't give I haven't got permission to give the source of the information, but I was talking to someone who has information I totally trust yesterday, and he works with a banking organization that has really good data from their members of the organization who bought homes last year, and their survey showed that the people that took the survey had talked to an average of 12 realtors before they picked a realtor, and they had talked to 3 lenders before they made a decision to move forward. And so I think we all know that intuitively, that people are talking to a lot of people. I don't think we thought it was quite that many. And so the conversation is so relevant, and I tend to find that it's not how do you win a conversation, it's really how do you not lose it before you establish the relationship, and then how do you help your partners also stay relevant to the conversation, so as a team you guys can work to win the transaction. What do you guys think?
I love that. I want everybody to start asking, people, how many agents did you talk to before you picked? How many, after you close, I want to do that in the opening conversation. But let's start finding out the answer for that through our community. Jen, you were going to say something?
Yeah, no, I said, I like the twist on that, Todd, that it's not how do we win it, but how do we not lose it? I think that's really important. I personally think one of the issues, there's probably many, and I'm sure, Michelle, you have some comments about this too, but the issue is listening, really listening to our clients and not going through the semantics of what we're, okay, so what's your debt, what's your asset, tell me all these things, but we're really listening to them and finding out what their concerns are as they're going through this process and what's confusing them, and really listening and answering their questions. So that's just one piece. I think what you have to say, Todd, is obviously accurate. I think there's just more to it. I think there's so many pieces to this. And I find everybody going through the motions and not taking the time to listen to their clients thoroughly and really understand what their needs are. And I think that's what people are looking for. So that's my thought on it.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that in a minute. I do want to push a poll question because I want to see where the community is at. I just pushed a poll question that says, how does your production currently compare to last year? Are you down? Are you up a little bit? Or are you killing it? And I was going to put, are you flat? But it's impossible to be flat. You're either up a little bit, you're down, or are you killing it? So about 60% of you have voted. The more vote, the better. Please get those votes in. Remember, guys, I need 70% of you to vote. So here we go. Here's the answers, by the way. 60% of you are down. I would love to know how down are you. 38% are up, and a very few people are killing it. By the way, I have talked to a number of people that are killing it, so it is a possible thing. I do want to also, we'll bring that into the conversation. Good one, Jen. Thank you for suggesting that we do that poll question. Couple things I want to shine a light on. One, I want to remind everybody that I interviewed Chris Smith this Tuesday, and Chris is incredible. I mean, it was all about Facebook marketing and modern selling. That interview has already been watched 449 times. One of the, I don't want to say it was the biggest takeaway, but I know I had a number of people tell me that the post that he said to put in Facebook, he said, hey, put in what year did you buy your first home? And I know Troy Williams got 116 comments in multiple leads. So I just want to remind people that was a nice takeaway from the call. There was a lot of other stuff. If you are using Facebook strategically, it is a must watch. By the way, do any of you guys have any comments on that before we move off of just reminding people about that call and takeaways?
Well, I responded. Todd, didn't you post something similar? Because I think I responded to yours.
I posted something similar because I heard Chris say it at Agent 2021, and I tweaked it. I wouldn't tweak it because the results you get when you use his exact question were better, and I did it for a reason. But I had over 100 responses to mine, and again, Chris's whole point was ask questions that people will respond to because it's not likes, it's the conversation. How many people are actually commenting that's going to get you seen by, instead of just 9 or 10%, but by, over 90% of the people that you have in your feed. And so if you start following me on Facebook, you'll see I continue to ask questions now that'll engage because I'm trying to get at least 10 comments on all my posts versus, I still post pictures of me and my kids and my goofiness, but I'm trying to engage more with my audience, per what he said. But I love what he said. He said that conversations equal closings. And so I think that goes along with what you just said, Jen, about the fact that you can't just go through the motions, that you actually have to get people on the phone. And so, for me, it's consistency, it's doing the activities, and I love your little twist on it there. So that was awesome.
Michelle, were you on that call by any chance?
I was, and it was incredible. And I have like 5 pages of notes. I have not been an effective Facebook marketer. I don't engage my clients. So I got a lot of what not to do anymore. So I've got a lot of changing to do on my trip next week.
Right on. I'm going to show my screen one more time. I also want to remind everybody that I interviewed Steve Hardy this week. And I can't think of a better person to ask the question of, Steve, are we hitting into a housing bubble? And he provided a bunch of slides, and he provided about a 20-minute narrative. This is a great tool to use at a realtor lunch and learn. So there are a link to the slides that he gave me, and I think there was about 15 slides that were incredible. And he also, did this interview, 23 minutes. Great resource, gives you a lot of ammunition for your next realtor meeting or your next realtor lunch and learn. Todd, anything to add? I know you checked that out. I think you commented in Facebook on that. Anything before we move off that topic?
I think there's nobody that's got better data than Steve out there. And so, again, I think that you have to know your audience, right? But it's great to arm your realtors with what will make them look like an expert. Great to arm your realtors with scripts and statistics that'll help them get people off the fence and move forward. I saw somebody post today online, and I think it was a Redfin survey they were quoting, where 95% of people still plan to buy homes, even if rates are over 5%. Just things like that, I think, are just great statistics to have in your mind to tell people, to kind of encourage them along in the market, especially your agents who are part of that 60% where their business is down as well. Gosh, look at that. Look at that smiling face who just joined us. This is a big day.
Who do we have?
Morning, everybody.
Mr. Danny Hirani. What's up, my man?
Not much, Dave. Good to see everybody.
You too.
Good to see everybody. So we have, guys, for anybody who's on this call, Danny, one of the top team leaders in the country, his team. What kind of production are you guys doing, Danny, nowadays?
Well, I heard you talk about that survey. We're definitely down right now, Dave. I mean, we're doing a company transition, which is definitely, if anybody's done that before, it takes a lot of wind out of your sails. But it's, taking a step back so you can move forward even faster. So we're definitely down. I think we're going to end up closing only about 15 million this month, which is, about half, a little bit even less than half than what we're tracking typically.
Only.
Yeah, well, a lot of
people involved in that. We're talking 36 bodies, including underwriters, processors, funders. That's a lot of, that's a lot of overhead to keep afloat with 15 million. Definitely not enough.
Yeah, well, you guys will be back in the 30 million a month range, and so we've got top producers here, and let's transition the conversation to optimizing conversion, and when the client is pushing you on rates and fees, how to have an effective conversation. So I structured this conversation. Danny, you jump in anytime because you are the special guest. The rest of us are regulars here. But I also want to ask this question to the audience, and I want to start it with what's the value we bring to borrowers? A lot of loan officers will say the rates and fees. A lot of loan officers will say convenience. I just want to throw it out to the community right now, and I want to go through call it a mastermind process where you take the time and you write it down. So in questions, I want you guys to write up right now, what is the value we as a mortgage professional, loan officer, bring to the borrower? While I am waiting for you guys to write things up and put them in here, I am going to go to you first, Danny. How would you answer that? What is the value you bring to a borrower?
So, when it comes to every family's situation is a little bit different. So when we're approaching, what I would say, the immediate thing we give them is, peace of mind that they're making a good decision. And we arm them with all the information they need to make that call. I would say just enough information, because too much sometimes is overwhelming and can lead them kind of down different rabbit holes that they shouldn't be in. But buying a house is a super stressful experience. And I can't imagine doing it without expert advice, and I can't imagine it going as well as it possibly could. And when you're talking about something that's happening at such a large scale in a family's kind of how the impact on a family's future and net worth and all the things that are integrated into the home buying process and by extension, the mortgage process, even just marginal differences can be really meaningful. So on one hand, as it relates to this conversation, the client can say, well, yeah, you're right. An eighth in rate over 30 years is really meaningful. But at the same time, shopping for a home and not having a local market expert that has a fantastic reputation with the listing agents, maybe that means you're shopping for another 3 months than you otherwise would have, right? It's hard to quantify these things, but we look at our conversion rate of pre-approval letter to accepted offer as it relates to how many offers were on that home. And so we're averaging about 3 to 4 offers on a house. So let's just call it 3 offers on a house. So you would expect that we would have about a 33% conversion rate if we didn't provide any value to that position. But we're actually getting closer to like a 75% conversion rate. 75% of the time we get a letter in, we're getting our offer accepted, which means that person's not in the market still. And at least here in San Diego, the trajectory of both home values and interest rates is up. Right, and that's interest rates are impacting all of us, and I think with the constrained inventory, home values is impacting all of us. So the difference in 3 months here in our market might be $25,000 that person is giving up, and not just $25,000 that they're paying in higher home value. They're also then taking a higher interest rate, which means their monthly payment's higher. And if you quantify all that, there's no way an eighth to a quarter in interest rate is, even if you stretch it out over 30 years, is going to make up the difference of all that time value, that cost of waiting that and our reputation and expertise is able to bring to the table. So that's kind of a long-winded answer, but I think that the impacts that we have as true mortgage professionals and mortgage coaches to our clients is really meaningful.
Agreed. Michelle, how would you answer that, quickly?
Similar. We are local experts. We have great relationships with our realtors, and we deliver on what we say, and it's not about rate. It's never about rate. It's always about service levels. And when we get to that question, I have some great stuff that we've been using. And I love when somebody starts talking to me about rate, by the time we're done, we don't even talk. I don't even quote a rate. We quote a payment. So, and we go on based on what that client's needs are, and we bring our value in. It's like, we're here to show you, and we're here to show you what is going to work for you, and that's what our value is, and that's why our realtors love us. That's why your offer is going to be accepted. Same thing that Danny was saying. The cost of waiting right now, especially with a rise in interest rates, is, I just did one for $400,000, and it was $169 difference between October and today. That's crazy over 30 years. Crazy.
Right. And again, you were able to quantify that for the client. So Jen, I'm going to ask you that question in a second. I do want to, the audience has said service with relationship, total cost analysis, personal digital home loan report, the comfort of making a decision. I've got professional advice and part of the realtor loan officer team to get them the home and to take care of them for life. I've got overall financial expertise and truly looking out for their best interests, always showing you actually care about their needs and concerns, empathetic listening. So by the way, guys, yes, this is recorded, but Jen, your turn to answer that question. What is the value we bring to borrowers?
Yeah, I think, we already talked about it a little bit earlier about listening, right? I think that's a big thing. But, I think most of you know that at Apex Home Loans, we have a CXO, Chief Experience Officer. And one of the things that he's told us, and he's a national speaker, so he has statistics all over the country, but there are actually 4 things that clients are looking for and how they rate us. We do a net promoter score, an NPS on every loan. Every single loan that we do, we have an NPS score. And our company overall last month had a 94 out of 100. And so we're always measuring that. And here's what they want. They want accuracy. They want availability. They want advocacy, and they want advice. And by advocacy, I mean they want a partnership. They want to know that we know what we're doing. We're experts. That we're available when they need us to calm down any concerns, things that they're not, sleeping well on. That we're a partner with them. It's not us versus them. So, for example, we don't say we talk to our underwriter. We say we speak to our underwriting department, because then it's not just a one person who's making some decision that someone doesn't like. And then, that we're giving them expert advice, going right back to, what both Danny and Michelle are saying is that, we have to give them enough information, but not too much to confuse them. So we really abide by that rule and make sure that we are accurate from the very beginning, available all the time. We're their buddy, their friend. We're helping them through this process. We're not on a boat pointing them and showing them where they need to swim to the shore and the sharks. We're in the water with them, guiding them through that process, and giving them really good quality advice through the mortgage coach total cost analysis.
Love it. Todd, how would you answer that question? And then I got the next question.
I don't think I can overdo what the 3 of them already said. And I think it just comes back to that overall education, right? I mean, I think it's that connection that you can make with clients. And I think that, all 3 of you said, I think really the key points. And I think the biggest thing, and it's not necessarily the value piece of it, but when it comes to the rate question, I always focus on, whenever I talk to people, there's always that small percentage who have to have the best deal, and we're never going to win that deal. But they really want to know that you care and that it's going to be competitive, right? I mean, that's a word I use a lot. If it's competitive, because if people feel like it's competitive, then, you've got a foot in the game. If you do the things that Danny, Michelle, and Jen are talking about, then you're still in there. And that, to me, is sort of how you add value. And I do think that, Jen said it really right, and Danny, when they said that, enough information, but not too much. Oftentimes we just throw up all over people. We have that person knowledge. We know all these things. And in the end, a lot of times, just if you're listening, like Jen said, you're asking great questions, like Danny and Michelle said, you're going to get them down the path that they need to be on in order for them to feel like, okay, I get it. These people are my advocate, like Jen said. So that would sort of be the only thing I think I can add.
Love it. So next question here, and again, folks, feel free to share your questions, also raise your hand. But the next question is, what are some of the services we need to deliver to be that high value local mortgage professional? You know, because I think a lot of loan officers think the service that they provide is just a transaction, you know, which, by the way, I mean, we are providing that service in a transaction. We need to close on time, close on budget, and deliver a great transaction. But, you know, I find that the loan officers that have the highest conversion rates, they're delivering a service above and beyond. So I want you to describe the services that you provide. So shout out to the whole community, you know, write it down. Again, this is a mastermind. I would love to unmute some other folks. So if you'd like to raise your hand and either ask this group a question or two, answer the question, do that. Danny, we'll start with you. You know, what are the services you deliver as a premium local referral-based provider?
So I'll answer the direct question of what we have been doing for many years, and then I want to also add what we're bringing back into our business in a big way. So the things that we've always done is, you know, providing a tailored pre-approval letter per property so that the seller can feel like there's a timely connection to them. And then we follow that up with what's called the listing agent. I think a lot of people have started kind of going through that process in recent years. Sending a total cost analysis, updating that, adding video, making sure that we're making emotional connection, with the client as they're getting their advice. When I describe it to the team, I kind of say like the mortgage coach total cost analysis is like the side of the cereal box where it shows all the fat content and sugar, but the front of the cereal box is our face, where it's us, a human being, making a personal connection with them. And that's where, if you watch people walk down the cereal aisle, they look at the front of the cereal box first, right? And that's what they connect with, and then they want to know what's on the inside, right? So it's important to be able to bridge those two things together. And the thing that we're adding back into our business in a big way, and I feel like, I don't know that this is true industry-wide, but it's definitely been true of our team, is that we've gotten pretty complacent and lazy about face-to-face meetings. We've leveraged technology, I believe, too much, trying to scale beyond, trying to scale and then using technology almost as an excuse and using the efficiency of technology as an excuse not to make those personal connections. And so the motto that we're using this year in the office is stop the shop, right? How can we stop the shop? Because how can we make ourselves more ingrained and part of that family's life? And making that face-to-face connection is massive, and we're making a huge push to increase our face-to-face meetings.
Love that. Yeah, and I'm seeing that more and more. I mean, everybody who listens to these calls on a regular basis, you hear us talking about there's a race to 2020. And, and the loan officer with the most clients for life wins. And part of that is having digital friends. They have your app downloaded. You have a multi-channel relationship with it. But part of it, how do you differentiate with the, technology companies that are in the mortgage business? It's you. And by the way, I love that analogy, that cereal box. I hadn't heard it yet. So, being the technology-enabled loan officer makes lots of sense. Jen, you have something?
No, I was saying I'm going to put my picture on a Wheaties front.
I think you want the Lucky Charms, the dancing leprechaun. That's what really gets people.
They're magic.
And the marshmallows,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're up.
Okay, so what I was going to say was, I think this gets back, and I love your point, Danny, because I still meet with my clients face to face, and everybody thinks I'm just silly for doing that. Why are you wasting your time? But, I track a lot, and statistically, I know that my conversion ratio is substantially higher, to the tune of 87% conversion rate when I meet people versus a 35% conversion rate when I'm on the phone all the time, right? And while I feel like that's a really good conversion rate, of course, we look at, our sales skills and our systems and process and everything, but I want to trust my client just as much as they trust me. I mean, this is my livelihood, right? And I think that does help us with the bond, but it gets back to I'm going to talk about our client, our CXO again. We have to remember that clients do not go to customer school. So they don't know, right? They don't know what to expect. So like, it's just like when a realtor calls and says, I need a letter, and we jump through hoops to get it, instead of just stopping and saying, okay, great. When do you need it? And they say, oh, well, we're not submitting an offer until Tuesday. Well, heck, we're just doing what we think everybody wants. So we need to stop and ask the client, moving forward, what do you think is the best course of action? Would you feel more comfortable with a phone call, with an online meeting, with a live edge, or would you prefer that we're meeting face to face? My preference is face to face, but I'm happy to serve you in any way that you feel is important to you. So I think we have to remember that they don't go to customer school. We can't serve them the way that golden rule is out. It's not how, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's do unto others as they want you to do unto them. Does that make sense?
I think that's awesome. And I love the statistics, right? I mean, if that statistic of 35% versus 87% doesn't make some of you think that maybe you need to change it up like Danny and his team are, I'm hearing a lot of that. I mean, think about what our competition is, right? Rocket Mortgage is spending a ton of money right now training us that that's how a mortgage loan should be in 2018. And then I was trading some texts with Dave on Sunday. I don't really admit it normally in public, but I'm a NASCAR fan. So my family all came over to watch the Daytona 500, and I saw Click and Close Mortgage was a sponsor of one of the cars. And so again, there is a question on there that says, well, what if I need help? And they're like, oh yes, you can find us. We have a live person who will help you, but they're not driving the same experience that everyone here is driving. And so I always think I think it's reframing. I was talking to my team about maybe trying to get more of their clients to come in person, because the top loan officer on our team met with almost all of his clients last year, and he's sort of gotten out of it this year because they feel like clients are too busy. And I said, well, how many of you actually drive to get your haircut during the day? And they're all like looking down, and people are raising their hand. Well, yeah, I do that. And then I said, well, awesome. Well, how many of you drive more than 30 minutes to where you get your haircut? And of course, all the people who've moved still go to their same hairstylist who's way across town. And I said, well, don't you think that if you're going to do that once a month to get your haircut, that maybe, once every 5 to 7 years, if you're going to get a $300,000 mortgage, it's worth, having your clients drive to meet with you. And all of a sudden they're like, oh, all right, I get it. And so I used the same conversation with a group of realtors I was training earlier this week. And of course, the head guy's like, I get my haircut at 6:30. If you guys are getting your haircut during the day, but like 80% of them raise their hand and said they drive more than 30 minutes to get their haircut during the day, during the business day. And so I think we have to overcome the idea that our clients don't want to see us, because if we actually make it important to them and explain to them why, and then make it a great experience, right? I'm sure Danny's making it great. I know Jen's making it great. Make it a great experience when they show up, so they're like, oh my gosh, I'm really glad I drove here to meet with you.
Yeah, and by the way, if you can go to their office, so what? You get to meet everybody in their office. Right?
Yeah. No,
if it's convenient.
Definitely seen that trend. Michelle, anything you want to add to this question, this topic?
First of all, getting back to face-to-face, I remind myself, this is all like bringing back memories. When I started, I met with every client. I went to every signing appointment. And that is how I made my name. I would love to do that now, but my client span runs from North San Diego all the way to LA. So it's a little bit more difficult because it's a 2 to 3 hour drive there, 2 to 3 hour drive back. So that's an entire day. But I'm going to bring that back. One of the things that we do is, I mean, I try to impress on the team, as we really are back into our thank you cards. Every single person on my team has to do a handwritten thank you card, 5 minimum a week. And that doesn't mean just to clients. Again, I don't use the service. I'm probably dated, but I do my own thank you cards. I do my own birthday cards because I know my client and I want to keep that personal relationship. So I would love to hire somebody that could write better than me, but I still think sometimes when they see my signature, because they know my writing so well, they go, oh, it is from Michelle, not from, Joe Schmo in her office. But just making sure we're valuable. That's important, and making sure we're not trying to oversell, because I'll find myself sometimes overselling and I'll have to catch myself and go, whoa, you don't need to do that. You have a service. I went away from the big banks and went back to brokering because I didn't want to be replaced by Rocket Mortgage. I don't want to click and clack loan, whatever that was. I don't want to. I don't want that. We are available for our clients. our clients know you can call me from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. Period. You will get somebody on my team and you will get a live answer. And if not, you will get a call back within an hour. That's what our difference is. We care about what goes on and we will spend the time. Don't be upset that we don't answer the phone right away. It's because when we're talking to you, we want to make sure we're talking just with you and that we're addressing just your concerns, not worrying about all the clutter and noise in the background.
Love it. So everybody who's listening, the takeaway here is the service is a well thought out, confident pre-approval letter. That is a service. How you deliver that service, we've done other calls where we talk about how that service is delivered. The total cost analysis, I love Danny's analogy, how, hey, I'm the picture and doing that in person is better. I do want to remind folks, there is a hybrid where if you can't meet in person, you have a scheduled appointment, and then you have a tech-enabled conversation with that client. And with Mortgage Coach, it's live. So whatever you're clicking on in Mortgage Coach, it follows along. There's no login for the client. Whatever the client's looking at, whether they're on a mobile device, whether they're on their computer, they're following along. So that technology-enabled conversation makes tons of sense. Two things, and then I have Coach Mike White is on the call. Coach, I'm going to unmute you in just a minute. Before I do that, I want to thank everybody who's answering questions. Troy, if you'd like to be unmuted and join the conversation, feel free to raise your hand. Alex said how much she loves your podcast. Want to make sure we get a shout out for that. Yeah. Jen has an amazing podcast, everybody, one of the best in the mortgage space. Jen, anybody that wants to subscribe or check out your podcast, how would they do that?
Yeah, on iTunes or Stitcher, and it's Mortgage Lending Mastery. That's it. It's free.
Cool.
Perfect name.
So hey, Coach Mike White, you had your hand raised. I take it you're listening in on the conversation. Anything to share, my friend?
Hey, Dave. Hi, everybody. You guys are making really great points. And for me, it's a little bit different because each and every one of you is in your own market and you're dealing with those types of circumstances. My clients are all over the country in all kinds of different markets. But all of you hit on really great points. And Jen, let me tell you something. I'm going to steal that you're not in the boat, you're in the water with the sharks going to the beach piece, because that is exactly, I'm a little more graphic and I'm in the foxhole. I want to be the guy that you want to jump into a foxhole with. Yours is a little more pleasant, swim into a beach, so I like that one. But Michelle makes a great point with the basic, the fundamental, the handwritten cards, and making people aware of that personal contact. You got to compete. And I think Danny's point to dealing with the rocket mortgage, I like to train my people into, the fastest way to make a bad decision. I mean, you can't have that consultative piece of this and build the relationship in 8 minutes. It's not going to happen. So the reality with all these points, especially in rising rates, is we're either going to define ourselves as experts and authorities on what it is that we do and understand that a significant piece of the market really wants that. The person who wants to go online and get their loan and doesn't think it matters is never going to use me anyway. But for the people out there who are nervous or who don't know or are having issues or challenges or want that guidance or the person in the water with them, you're going to win that deal every time. You don't have to do every deal in your market. You don't have to. You just have to do the number of loans that you want to do. And I guarantee you, when you remember, get away from transactional thinking. The loan officers are putting themselves out of business. They're going to be working for 10 basis points the rest of their life, getting into transactional. This is relational thinking. The handwritten card, the letting them know when you can talk to them live. Some of us who don't have teams, you can leave a voicemail and tell them when you can call them back. Some that do have teams, I love the concept of having somebody answering that phone or getting back into an hour, but for some people that's not possible. The reality of this is set the expectation up front, and in the very beginning, ask the client what it is that they want, and then give it to them. This isn't brain surgery here. Clients have very real fears, and it doesn't matter what we think they should know. It matters what they're afraid of. It matters what they're worried about. Solve the problem that they're afraid of. Yes, you're supposed to watch out for the other landmines and guide them. But first and foremost, let them tell you what their story is. Give them what they really want and protect them against what they're afraid of. And you're never going to be without business.
Love it. Love it. So let's do this, guys. I want to get tactical, and I want to get some scripts for everybody. So everybody be ready for that. I'm actually going to show my screen, and if anybody wants to follow along, there is a script. I posted it in our Facebook group. So by the way, whether you're listening to the recording or whether you're watching this live in our Facebook group, before the call, I posted a link to my total, not mine, a total cost selling script. Some of the scripting in here, I think Danny, you've influenced it. Josh Meadows, some of the best loan officers in the country have influenced some of the scripting. But before I do that, I want to unmute Troy, because Troy, you raised your hand. I don't know whether you have a question or whether you want to share a success story from the week, but Troy, you have been unmuted.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I just wanted to do first off, like I said, thanks for everything, Dave. I know I'm still the new guy and rookie here, and I've been following for a few months and super engaged in it now. It's awesome. It's an awesome community, so thanks to everybody. I think my, I don't know, again, takeaway, or I don't really have a question, more so from my side. I think the takeaway, again, just goes to that personal service level, especially on the millennial side, that next generation, because I do fit into that bucket on, outside of the office and inside. But, it's funny. It kind of seems to me that it's the old school, new school way. And what I mean by that is, myself, my millennial clients, we want to meet in person because we don't trust anything online. So I think going back to that service level, and, they want somebody that they can trust and that they're going to be, receiving an honest opinion from. So, I wrote in that message that every client of mine, I have a homeowner's insurance agent. I get a quote within minutes, which is awesome. Send it over. So every deal, refi, purchase, doesn't matter. There's that. There's a total cost analysis. We go through an actual budget, and we actually determine what a comfortable mortgage payment is, not what I can qualify them for, but what they're going to be comfortable with. And then, a success story was I'm closing a deal today. I've been working with clients for almost a year, about 10 and a half months now. And we went through every aspect of their finances to get them prepared to buy their first home. And it actually is one of my favorite transactions I can, recall in the past 12 months, just because it's been a long journey. And, I think just that expertise shows that that's how you beat the Quickens and, the lendingtrees.com and all that. So just wanted to say thanks for that as well.
I love it. I love it. Hey, Troy, didn't you post that question from Steve Smith, or not Steve Smith, but Chris Smith? Did you post it?
I did indeed.
What kind of results did you get?
I think within the first 24 hours, I had almost 80 comments. I had 2 private messages with referrals from clients asking for appointments. And then I had a realtor that I'd never even worked for or worked with. And she replied on it. I commented back, and then she sent me a private message that she had a client and asked if I could give them a call and a pre-approval. So it was pretty phenomenal. And like I said, it's still going on. I mean, comments were still coming in yesterday. So the engagement aspect's been awesome.
Well, congrats on that.
Is this a question on when did you buy your house? Just for clarification.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yep. And it was as simple as that. I literally just posted up that. Thank you.
Yeah. So for anyone that's not completely connected the dots, Chris Smith, who I interviewed on Tuesday, that interview is available in our YouTube channel. I think someone asked, where is the recording? This will be in our YouTube channel. He recommended to the mortgage coach community, just put, what year did you buy your first house? That's it. Put that in Facebook. You'll get a lot of, engagement and questions. And Troy Williams here, mortgage coach, active member of our community, had 80 plus comments, 2 or 3 leads, just from that. Now, by the way, Troy does a nice job of telling stories online. You've obviously built a great community around yourself on Facebook, and you're obviously a great example of the modern mortgage professional. You know, you're connecting at a human level, you care about people, and you're leveraging technology in the process, which, you know, that is the loan officer of the future. So thanks, Troy. I'm going to put you back on mute. If you do have more questions or comments, raise your hand, and please stay active in our community. We love hearing your success, buddy.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, Dave,
really
let me throw one
it.
more thing. Yeah, nice job, Troy. Dave, let me throw in one more thing. If you're getting that engagement on the post like Chris is talking about, make sure you're commenting back. Like, you know, the person who says, hey, I bought, you know, like I had friends who are older and like, oh, I bought my first house in the 50s, or I bought it when rates were 10%. I mean, make sure you're making funny comments back and forth with people, because that's what keeps it relevant in other people's feeds, right? Keep in mind that Facebook sorts by most activity, most popular. So if you're not responding back and forth, then, you know, you're not going to get it. And I'm not telling you to be glued to Facebook. You know, when I did a recent post, I didn't reply till the 30 responses I got till the next morning, but then it kept it going again all day the next day. So just don't forget to interact with people.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
All right. Oh, no, good. So Troy, again, I unmuted you. I put you on mute. I lowered your hand. Feel free to raise it back up if you have another comment or question. All right. So guys, let's get tactical. I want to get into some scripting. Obviously, you can see my screen, everybody. This is something that we're not going to go through this script word by word. This is written up for you to check out. There's also a lot of other scripts in the Mortgage Coach community. For example, if you went to our YouTube channel and in the search, if you typed scripts, boom, I typed in script, you're going to get a lot of examples of Mortgage Coach scripts. One of the all-time most watched is this Mortgage Coach scripts with Tim Brahim, Jeremy Forcier, and Danny Harani. So I'm going to leave that for anybody that wants to do homework afterwards. But Danny, why don't we start with you? Let's talk about some of the questions. You know, let's assume that, hey, I'm a mortgage coach, which you are. Part of the experience with me is a total cost analysis. How do you position yourself? What do you say? And then what are the questions that you're asking every single family so that you're delivering this tangible service? Let's dedicate the rest of this call to just getting into the weeds and talking scripting.
Perfect. I'll try to be as brief as possible with this, but before I answer with the script, I want to just talk about kind of two bookend pieces of kind of the intent behind the script. So the first is really what I think we've brought up a lot of times on various Insane Productivity calls and Mortgage Coach calls, the 4 Disciplines of Execution, which is a book that I would absolutely highly recommend anybody who is on this call check out. It has been massively impactful on our business. Even an individual LO can get a lot of value out of it. If you have a team, that value is multiplied exponentially. So highly recommend that book. But one of the things that book talks about is kind of starting with your end goal and then backing up from it and looking for leading indicators that get you to that goal. So the goal is for a client that says yes to us, right? They take, you know, they hire us for the services that we provide. And in doing some reflection with our team, we came up with this concept that there's really 2 meters in a person's brain when they're comparing lenders or any service provider. And you can probably think about yourself as you're navigating through purchasing decisions. It's probably true for you as well. 1 meter is value, and the second meter is relationship. And so a great example of this is most people see Apple as being in a relationship with them, right? You have a relationship with that company. The value you get from the products is not a price-related value. It's the relationship plus the quality of the service together. Think of them as 2 10 meters, right? Meter from 1 to 10, another meter from 1 to 10. Whoever has the highest combined score wins, right? So our competitors are looking for value only in most cases. You know, they're cutting commission, they're doing suicide pricing, they're going down and looking only for rate and fee as their pure value. And so that in the mind of the customer, it might take them all the way up to a 10, right? But even if you in the mind of the customer have a 7 value, but a 9 relationship, you're going to win that client. over because the other company maybe has a 1 to 2 relationship, right? I'm just making these numbers up, but that concept's there. So throughout the process, backing up from that decision point, our goals are to add value and add relationship, right? And try to get both of those meters as high as possible for that final decision point. So then I'm going to back all the way. That's the end, right? I'll go all the way back to the beginning. The best way to start is to coach your referral partners into how to refer you. The relationship and value starts with them because you're not going to be able to communicate. You're a biased party, right? The comment that Troy made about millennials not being trusting, or really there's a lot of mistrust and misinformation and confusion and noise in the marketplace and on the internet and with friends and family at barbecues, and you have to cut through that noise. And a client is immediately suspicious of you, and maybe not always, but enough times where we should kind of approach it in that way. But if you have a trusted advisor that passed on goodwill to you in the appropriate way, you're starting off with those meters with value in each of them already. And then I'll just go to quickly scripting because I took up a lot of time here and I definitely want to hear everybody else's scripts. What we've started doing a lot more as 2017 got aggressive in the price war model was, again, this is in the very beginning, in the interview process, making sure to ask them questions, right? So what's most important to you in this process? What would a successful lender relationship look like for you as we add ourselves to part of your team, to purchase this home? And so let's say they say, well, I just want the lowest rate. Like, oh, great. Rate is super important. You honor the comment, but how about closing on time? How about making sure that somebody's available on the weekends? Are those things important to you also? You don't tell them, but you ask them, right? And then get the gears turning. And I guess, if I needed a pre-approval letter on the weekend because the house just got on the market and it's going to go by Sunday, I probably wouldn't want to have somebody that I can get in touch with. And this is all pre-framing so that when you get to the final lock conversation and your total cost analysis is up and you're talking about all the value you already provided them, right? Because you can't charge for that. We can't charge for best efforts. So all we can do is make sure that all those efforts get added to the value bucket so that when they make the decision, they're making the right decision.
Love that. So, by the way, a lot of questions came in. A lot of those could be answered in our Facebook chat. So I'm going to take the recording of this. I'm going to push it into our Facebook group after the call. And any questions that don't get answered, if you put those in the Facebook group, I'll either personally answer them. I'll make sure they get answered. I do know, just from some of the surveys that we've done in our Facebook group that, I'm going to pull it up right now, actually. I'm just going to show it to you guys.
Why don't you tell everyone what the Facebook group is called, Dave?
Again, for anybody that's listening to the recording, it's Mortgage Coach Productivity Mastermind. But if we just go to rate shopping, because I know that was a word within these recent polls, I had asked the question right here, this one right here, around what's most important to lead conversion. And look at this, 34 people said how the realtor partner is positioned. And we've got a lot of great scripts on this. So if you listen to some of the scripting calls that I talked to you about, we've answered this 10 ways to Sunday. Todd Duncan has a great script, and I love the way he positions the total cost analysis. It's like, hey, did your lender provide you with a total cost analysis? I'm going to refer you to someone that's going to make sure that go through a whole script. But Danny, I want to throw it to you. What is the scripting that you're training your loan officers? And knowing that the total cost analysis is an important service that you provide, how are you leveraging that at the front end so that the borrower perceives the value? They see the perceived value of that. Could you give us some scripting and just let us know what that sounds like?
Right, absolutely. And fortunately, because of where we are, I'm actually getting an opportunity to get back into this a lot more. So it's been super fun for me to do a lot more of our consultations personally, which has been awesome. And I didn't realize how much I missed it. But again, so we're back into that pre-framing conversation where we're asking the questions and focus flipping them away from rate. And then, there's a point where, we ask, is quality advice for your family so that you can make a really good decision going to be important to you? And then when they say yes, because obviously it is, I genuinely get super excited. I'm like, oh man, I am so excited then because I have a tool that we're going to use throughout this process And it's going to allow you not only upfront to understand the impact of your choices over time, but it's going to allow us to continue a conversation in a really high value way, all the way up to the point where we're making a decision to lock. So we're going to give you some initial information up front so you can compare different price points, different interest rates, different points or lender credits. But as you go through this process and you find homes, we'll tailor the presentation exactly for that home, maybe even while you're in there because it has a mobile app that you can access. So there's going to be a ton of information here, but we're going to use this awesome tool that's going to make the information really accessible to you so you can make the best decision for your family.
Love that. And so, folks, anyone that doesn't get the script that you want for this call, if you're watching the recording and you're like, what's the script for this? If you put in comments, Dave, I want this script, I will either give you a quick hit to that script or we will cut and paste it from something else. So, the thread in Facebook, our power user group should really fill up. So, Jen, you want to go next on that? Any scripting that you use, anything that you want to cover?
Actually,
Michelle, we'll go to you.
I don't actually want to do my script because I've done it before on this call. And so I don't know if you can do that search because Todd was so nice to type it up. And I still
so
we'll get it. We'll put it in the thread. We'll put it in the thread
because I don't want to waste the time on something that's already there and you guys can look at it because I did my full script for everybody. It's really funny. So I do that script and it's much along the line similar to what Danny's doing, but again, I'm really involved in this listening mode right now. That's sort of my thing. So I want to just give you some, I call them catchphrases so that you can make transitions. I'm going to give you a couple. So the first would be, and this is not in any order. These are just some questions I ask people throughout the process. One is just saying, with your permission, ... So thank you for asking the question about the interest rate. I appreciate that very much. However, with your permission, and assuming you're comfortable, may I go ahead and ask you some questions that will help me identify the best products and programs for you before I quote the actual rate. So with your permission is one. Assuming that you're comfortable with is another. I've been writing them all down so that I remember them. And then during the process, I'm asking some other things too. Anything keeping you up at night about this process, about what's happening right now? Anything keeping you up at night? What questions are stirring right now as you're going through this process? So whether it's in the beginning or during the process itself, but what questions are stirring right now? What are your biggest concerns? That's a basic one. Tell me what you're thinking about. What do you, all day, every day, as you're thinking about this process that we're going through or about ready to, tell me what you're thinking about. So I'm really trying to get inside their heads so that I can serve them better. And individually, so, we all have a process and we all have this turnkey system that we've been putting together, but it's really about that client experience. And in order to extract that and to make sure that they feel like they're not a number, they're not a transaction, they are truly a family we are trying to help, I've really started softening and asking these very poignant questions. So you have my script in a previous thing, and I just wanted to throw out some of these, sort of catchphrases and things that you could be asking people throughout the process just to do check-ins, see how they're doing and what's keeping you up at night. And it might be, and it has been, what's keeping me up is I don't know how logistically I'm going to do this move. And so I want to get them involved in collaborating with a mover that will be more sensitive to helping them get past the angst about it, maybe an organizer. So that is what's going to create that stronger relationship that we're talking about, that value and that relationship that Danny was mentioning.
Love it. Michelle, your turn. Any scripting you have, any wisdom you have for everybody as we get ready to wrap this call up in the next 5 minutes?
I am actually not a big scripter. I'm a kind of a feeler. I just, when the conversation, I feel from the conversation, but I always use with your permission. I'm going to just give you, I'm going to role play with myself here for a second. Hey, Michelle, I was referred to you by so-and-so, and I want to know what your rate is. And my immediate response is going to be, oh my gosh, that is so great. Thank you so much. Don't you love Georgia? She's an amazing agent. And I want to definitely answer your question. That is such a great question. It's probably the number one question I get. But what I have to do, with your permission, is ask a few questions to make sure that you qualify for that great rate. And I'm going to use a tool that's going to show you that maybe that lower rate isn't the right rate for you and your plan. That's what I do. Because it doesn't always mean the lowest rate isn't it. If they're moving in 5 years, a higher rate paying their closing costs is the better choice for them. And that mortgage coach presentation, total cost analysis, is going to show them that.
Mm-hmm.
So you're again playing a whole different game, and you are helping the family pick the right loan that suits their needs. But with your permission, I need to ask a few questions, and then I'll show you the total cost over time. And again, everybody connect the dots. By using the total cost analysis, you are providing full transparency. You know, they are, when you provide a couple options and you show the cost over time and they pick the option, they pick the loan officer. And so it really just comes down, you know, do you get the family in person, where yes, you will have the best conversion? Do you have a tech-enabled telephone with internet conversation, second best conversion? Or is it just pure technology where you're delivering the link? If you've added a video, that's going to improve. Remember, human connection. And Danny, I love how you kind of brought this, you know, value, what's your value equation and what's your relationship equation. That's huge. Hey, Coach Mike White, any quick thoughts while we have you on the line, and then I'll let Mr. Todd Bookspan close it out. You still here, Coach?
I think everybody makes really valid points, and I think we get back to asking the question. And when people call, they have an agenda, and they also want to be heard. They want information, but they also want to make sure that you're listening to them and you're relating to what their story is. So with my clients, I usually, first question I ask them is, how'd you come to call me? Because that gives me important information as to what they already know about me, because we all know certain referral partners attract certain types of people and they recommend you in a certain way, so you can play into that. But I always start the conversation after that with, take a few minutes and tell me what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And then when they get to, well, I want your rate, I want your best rate, you know, I depending on the client, you know, my favorite always was when we had that question is, you know, asking me what the rate is today is sort of like asking me what the temperature is in the United States. You know, I'm in South Florida today. It's going to be 86. You're in Seattle at maybe 20. In Chicago, it's 18 and snowing. So let's drill down on this a little bit. And let's find out specifically what you're trying to accomplish. That usually gets them outside that shopping box and into the communication box. And once they start communicating, that's where you can build a relationship by finding out, again, about their fears and their goals and what they're trying to be successful. Because as you've all talked about, it is about being the facilitator. How does that customer come to us, and how do we put them into a transaction? Because ultimately, you know, the two phrases that I use a lot is the rate isn't great if the closing is late, and a great rate on the wrong loan product doesn't help anybody. And so if you remember these things and you share those things, but most of all, make sure that you're asking the client what they're looking for, and then by the end of the conversation, making sure you've delivered the pathway for them to get there.
Love it. So guys, this is recorded. It will be in our YouTube channel by the end of the day. You know, so in our playlist for Friday Masterminds, we'll have this call right here. I do want to shine a light on a video. I interviewed Danny a week ago, and Danny has, you know, and his team have been doing annual reviews. And in this particular video, he talked about how he is talking to realtors about his annual review and how he's using that as a service for the realtor. So check out that video. Todd, I will let you close it with any last comments or takeaways on your side.
All right, with 45 seconds, I will do the best I can do. You know, my great analogy right now is the Olympics, right? We're watching the best of the best. And the first couple of days of the Olympics were those downhill people that would go in 20 seconds down, and they would do the moguls and they would do the flips, and the people were standing there with their eyes closed and they were imagining what the whole run of their 20 seconds was going to look like. So all I would tell you, the reason that you just heard 4 great people who know great scripts is because they practice what that 20 seconds is going to look like when the person gets them on the phone, and they extend it out to 20 minutes or whatever that time takes. And so you've got to have the building blocks of a great script in order for you to win the Olympics of getting your loans that you need to do, because our Olympics go all year. They don't just go for this 2 weeks. And so I would encourage you to go into the Mortgage Coach YouTube page. I'd encourage you to go into the Mastermind group, find these scripts that we're talking about on the script call that Danny was on with Tim Brahim and Jeremy. Dave's got in there it's transcribed. And so what I do all the time with my clients and my team is I send them all those different scripts. I send them Michelle's, I send them Danny's, I send them Jeremy's. And then that way you can find the script that you like the best that really fits you, so that you can decide how you want to run the client and build what those different blocks are. How are you going to respond with the rate? Use what Jen and Michelle said. How are you going to set people up for the annual mortgage review down the road? How are you going to talk to them about, the speed to, mortgage is the, fastest way to a disaster loan? I mean, think about those catchphrases and scripts that you want to use, so that when you're ready, we're going to get those objections that you're ready to rock and roll. So it's time. That's all I got. I could talk about that for an hour itself, but the bottom line is you need to work on this and practice it, and all the information Dave has put together within the Mortgage Coach community. So you've got the tools. You just got to take the time to put it together. And then if you take the time to put it together, I know that you'll crush it.
Love it. So I'm going to push the survey. Did we surpass your expectations with value over the past hour? Some solid takeaways. If you were a guest on this call and you would like to get a demo of Mortgage Coach, click the last option. So, hey, guys, it looks like we knocked it out of the park. The majority of the folks felt that we surpassed their expectations, and everybody gave us a solid takeaway or better. So thank you so much. Danny, as a special guest, thank you for making time for us, buddy. And Jen, Michelle, it was great to have the whole team here. And Coach Mike White, thanks for making a cameo. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, everyone.
Thank you,
All
Todd.
right, see y'all next week.
It's always a wrap.
my pleasure.
Have a fantastic weekend.